You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
All right, John, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So tell our listeners where you're calling in from and something interesting about yourself, maybe.
Sure. So I'm in San Diego, California,
Nice.
And something interesting about me is that I eat one meal a day and I run marathons.
That's awesome. So you can run marathons and train for marathons on one meal a day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are we talking about a lot of complex carbs?
Actually, you know what? A lot of times I do pretty close to keto. So
Awesome.
yeah, I tend to. I'm training for a 100-mile race right now, and I'm actually trying to drop weight a little bit because I weigh about 235 pounds, which I'm trying to get down a little bit lower. So I'm actually eating only 3 times a week now, just Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and
Wow.
And running. So yeah,
fasting isn't. I mean, I fast. I don't, but I do it I do it just a 12 to 8, right? And I do it. I do it daily, and I've seen some pretty awesome results. I'm really looking forward to seeing some more, reading some more and more literature about like all this research that's being done on it. But that's pretty awesome. You must be tall, by the way, because I'm looking at you right now, and you're what? How much?
235. Yeah, I'm about 6'3".
Oh, okay, cool. I was gonna say, you that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get some tree trunks on you. I'm not seeing it, but that's awesome. You're tall. You're tall. Great.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your company. What is it that Bulldog Mindset does?
Yeah, so I teach men how to be men. Really is really what the bottom line is today.
That's awesome.
And I focus on really from what I call the Bulldog mindset, right? Which is the opposite of the victim mindset. So many men today have this victim mindset, and that hurts them because they blame everything that's going wrong in their life on society, on women, on circumstances beyond their control, instead of taking responsibility. And so what I do is, a lot of what I teach is rooted pretty deeply into Stoic philosophy, right? The idea that we should insulate ourselves from fate and the things that are outside of our control and strengthen our inner fortress. And, I teach basically the mindset, and then finances, how to become financially independent, build a business, invest in real estate. I teach the physical side of it, how to get the physique you want and get strong. And I teach the dating and relationship side of it too, how to be a man in a relationship, how to go out and actually attract women if that's what you're looking to do. And I feel like all those pieces are a vital component of being a man. So
that's a great. So tell me, is there a phase process that you have in place, John, where it's kind of broken down on first it's the mindset, I assume, and then it kind of built from that, or how do you generally kind of like coach somebody to do so?
Yeah. So if I do one-on-one coaching, what I do is I do a lot of YouTube videos, and I just put out different pieces on different, every day of the week is a different one of those core. And then I've got a membership where it's similar weekly videos, or I alternate between those 4 things. But if I'm doing a one-on-one coaching, then I look to see where the person is and see what their goal is. I try to figure out, what are you trying to accomplish in life? Where are the weak spots? And then let's fill those in. And so we usually have like one focus area and then the auxiliary areas, right? Because if someone is really trying to become financially independent, then I'm going to help them to do that, but then I'm not going to neglect the health aspects and the relationship aspects. And mindset is always going to be a huge part of it, because without the mindset, it doesn't matter what you're just not going to be successful.
100%. That's awesome. So why did you choose just like to focus on men?
I started out as a software developer, and I have another company called Simple Programmer where I teach soft skills to software developers. And this company sort of came from that, right? As I was doing a lot of YouTube videos for software developers, I started talking about soft skills and coaching them on different things. And I kept on getting questions from guys, a lot of really dating questions, and just guys that I felt were not very masculine at all. They had no idea how to bring that out in them, and that was what was causing them all this havoc and harm in life. And so I started creating more content like that on the YouTube channel for Simple Programmer, and I realized, you know what, this is not really on brand for Simple Programmer. I want to kind of teach career skills and stick to the soft skills. So I decided to pull off this new brand, Bulldog Mindset, where I could focus more on what I kept on seeing as a huge problem in society today. And a lot of people kept on saying, well, you know, you could give the same advice. A lot of this advice is great for women as well. And I have actually a lot of women that follow Bulldog Mindset, even some that are in the membership. But, you know, I said, hey, that's true. That's great. But I'm focusing on men because, one, that's what I know. And two, I want it to be specific. I want to have, you know, I feel like in business, it's really important to have an avatar that is your customer. And even though it's tempting to go broad and say, yeah, this is personal development advice that could apply to anyone, I really want to make it so that my mission is to help men to be men today, to teach men to be men. And so that narrows it down. So that way, you know, when someone comes to my site or they watch my YouTube video and they hear me talk, they're like, okay, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly, you know, who I am. And they feel like it's designed for them. So that's where
you kind of broke down a niche within a niche. And I think that's definitely important, just an overall business perspective. So props to you on that, because a lot of people try to be everything to everybody, and that's not, and unfortunately they become kind of mediocre at many things. Right. And so being an expert in this field of, you know, showing men how to become men, which, you know, I think if some listeners might be like, I'm a man, you know, like it could be a little emasculating to hear that. But what are some of the kind of key factors, or let's say indicators of people out there that might be listening, or men out there listening, that would say this is something that I could benefit from? Who are those guys?
You know, I think it's really any man, because we can all learn to be better men, right? The goal is really, there's no getting there. There's no being at the finish line. We're always striving. I'm always striving to improve myself. And that's really the journey. In fact, in my mind, a lot of what it means to be a man is to never rest, to know that you always have to have the gloves up. You don't get a chance to put them down. A lot of men struggle because they feel like, and especially in the relationship aspect, they feel like they need a shoulder to cry on, that they need someone that's going to love them unconditionally and is going to give them a break, and that this is how things should be, how life should be. It should be fair, but life isn't fair. Life is, you as a man are supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be the rock. You're supposed to carry on. And you're always, every day, you're going to wake up and you're going to fight a battle a new battle every day. And that is the mission. And so, you know, basically, I really think it applies to all of us, but especially to guys that are struggling, that feel like, you know, and in fact, kind of my story is I got into my early 30s, and I would honestly look around and I would see other guys and I'd be like, I don't understand. Like, that guy seems like a man to me, but I don't feel like a man. I feel like an older boy. I feel like an adult, like I'm 30, but I don't really feel like a man. Like, what is the difference there? And I didn't understand that difference. And so I think there's a crisis of masculinity, and we don't have today, we don't have the initiation rites that boys would go through to become men, like we did way back, or even when we didn't have those initiation rites, even if you go back 50 or 100 years, we had a lot of trades, and we had boys working along with their fathers. At least they were sort of moved into that transition, because, you know, it's different between men and women. Women become, you know, a girl will mature and become a woman. A man doesn't become a man. He doesn't automatically become a man. A man has to go through a trial, a process to actually do that. And I think there's a huge segment of our population of men today that haven't actually gone through that. And in the physical sense, they're a man, but in the mental and emotional maturity sense, they have not yet reached that. And so that's really who I'm looking for as my primary, you know, audience that can benefit from this. So,
are a lot of the guys you feel like that come to you might be coming through some kind of situational depression or something that kind of pops in their head, or is it just like any everyday man can benefit?
Yeah, I would say, you know, just any everyday man can benefit. We can all, you know, it's really just the path to improve ourselves, make ourselves better every day, and to to get that, again, I call it the Bulldog mindset, because that's really the thing. That's like, if you're looking for success in your life, you've got to have that mindset. You have to have that mindset where you don't give up, and there's a lot behind it. And so I feel like that's, pretty much beneficial to anyone. But like I said, specifically if you're struggling with, a lot of the guys that end up coming in are guys that are struggling with women, with relationships where they just don't understand the dynamics, the intersex dynamics, and not understanding that can lead you down a path of a lot of hurt in your life that can be prevented if you understand. It's not that complicated, but if you don't understand that, you're going to be in for a lot of pain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there a specific way that you feel you've been able to really help, that you can give some of the listeners some value on? Just a tip, like how to kind of help change the mindset.
Yeah. So what I would say is that, as far as, it just acceptance is really, really the big thing, right? Because a lot of the reason why we get upset, right? In fact, the only cause for anger, right? And really being upset is expectations unmet. Right. In order for us to be angry, if you look at any time you've ever been angry, it's because you expected one thing and something else happened. Right. If someone cut you off on the freeway, you expected them to not do that. Right. And that expectation led to your anger. And so really the key to getting rid of anger and getting rid of a lot of negative emotions and really becoming self-sufficient and having self-efficacy is getting rid of expectations and replacing it with acceptance. It doesn't mean that you're completely passive. It doesn't mean that you don't fight. It doesn't mean that you don't strive to change the world to how you see it should be. But it means that whatever has happened, you just accept that is what has happened. And that is the best thing that could have happened. And now I can do something about it, or I cannot do something about it. But a lot of the frustrations, I think, and a lot of things that prevent people from having the right mindset is this attitude of it's not fair, it shouldn't be fair, and whining and complaining about things instead of, you either have, you kind of have, I think in Eckhart Tolle's book, in I'm trying to think of the name of it now, his famous book, not the New Earth, you know what I'm talking about?
The Millionaire Mindset?
No.
Nope.
Anyway, I can't think of his book now. In fact, let me just type it in real quick here.
You can still quote it.
Eckhart Tolle. It's The Power of Now. Yeah, The Power of Now. So in that book, he talked about this idea that essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but he said that if you have something, some problem in your life or some situation, you've got three options. One option is to change it. Another option is to walk away from it, and the other option is to accept it. But complaining about it is not an option. And I think that's, that is the key, is developing that. When you have that mindset that, that's what you're going to do, then everything in your life changes, because we spend so much time complaining and whining and being angry about things and upset. And, you basically always have those three options.
Right. And I think there's some things that you can't control. I remember I had a buddy that was going through a breakup in the past, and a while ago, and he was kind of we were talking about it, asking for advice, and at the end of the day, it was just, it was more about her versus him. And I said, you're going to change the way that you think about these things, right? Or because you're not going to change her,
Exactly.
So it's like you're going to change the way that you feel and think about it, and that's all about how you can control how you feel. And usually it's really what you tolerate, right? And I think that if you can change that mindset and understand, like, your expectation is she's going to be X, Y, and Z. Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8-to-5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith. Go to michaelolivas.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's michaelolivas.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help. But why, right? Looking back into it, and I think you mentioned something really good on the mindset side. Like, there's things that, I think Tony Robbins said it really well too once, which is you got to turn your expectations into appreciations. Yes. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do at first, but like you meant, someone like you to teach how to do that. And I think on a high level, the way I personally have been able to do that, because I've had a patience issue in the past where it's just like, why? Like, why not faster? I need it now. I need it yesterday, right? Way too much of a grind entrepreneur kind of deal and type A-ish. And that still kind of was, that hurt me, because that mean I would either ruin work relationships faster, saying, nope, that's not working, you're out. Oh, nope, you're fired, right? And I would do that, right? And it was kind of like, why? Well, my expectation was they were just supposed to get it, when in reality, I got to look back myself in the mirror and be like, I'm not teaching them the right way. I'm not breaking it down the right way. And I think everyone needs to understand, if you know yourself, it's the triggers when that happens, right? Like, how do you trigger, right? And that's about to happen, and then realize I'm upset because of X. And then what do you do with that feeling?
Exactly. Yep. I agree 100%.
Tell us a little bit about when you, so you've been working with this, you've been obviously started Bulldog Mindset. You've had your other software company in the past. Give us a little time when you actually hit rock bottom and you felt like you had to overcome disaster, and how you did that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was really, I don't think I ever really hit what I would call a rock bottom. I've had definitely some sobering moments, but most of those fortunately have come after I had really adopted the stoic mindset. I remember one day when a couple of things, I could give you a few of them, but I remember one day I was hanging out with some friends in Santa Monica, and I got this text message from this guy that I had been doing a real estate deal with. And he was working for this company in San Diego, and I invested about $350,000 with this company. And he's like, I need to call you. And so I got on the phone with him, and he says, oh, the lead investor, the guy, that I had referred you to, he's in jail in New York City right now for fraud. And I was like, oh, wow. Right. And I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of money. I'm like, and I asked him for the details. He said, I don't have all the details, but just letting you know. And so I thought, okay, well,
just FYI, the dude that we have all our money's in jail.
Exactly. He's like, sorry, I didn't realize, I was like, okay, well, we don't, just give me the information that you have. Yeah. And I remember, thinking in my head at that point, I was like, well, you know what, if it's gone, it's gone. Like, a lesson learned here. And, not that I can just afford to lose $350,000, but I remember, thinking that. And then I had my friends that were with me. They're like, hey, do you need to go home? Do you need to go take care of this? I'm like, there's nothing I can do, whatever it is. So let's just carry on and let's just have a good time. And I just had a good time and didn't pay much attention. Obviously I dealt with the issue and whatnot, but that was one of those moments. And that's also like one of the things that I talk about where stoic philosophy and having the mindset can really help you, because I honestly was able to just carry on with my day, because I'm like, whatever happens in life. And it's like, I'm just going to accept whatever happens. Now, I'm not going to be stupid, obviously, and just say, oh, it doesn't matter. Right. Obviously I went after when I had the time to get the information and research it and figured out what was going on and follow it up and,
yeah, but you can't. So like you mentioned, I think this is something that's a great lesson to be had out there, especially for entrepreneurs. Because if we know one thing that the listeners of entrepreneurs and or those that might be trying to start a business is that frustration happens daily. Yep. Especially if you're dealing with people and you have expectations at people. I think Gary Vee says it best. He has very, very low expectations and massive patience. Well, those have to be ingredients if you're going to grow. And if you don't have one of those right now, I mean, reaching out to somebody like John might be an idea for you. Even if it's just like, I know, because a lot of us, I think, as entrepreneurs know what's wrong with us. Are we doing something about it? We have to try to develop as people, but also we're trying to build a business at the same time, right? And so there's a lot of pressure on us. But you mentioned something on your kind of your, wasn't a rock bottom, but definitely could be, I think for most people, that would be rock bottom. $350K. Nobody wants to lose that. I don't care if you have $1 billion. Nobody wants to lose $350,000, right? That's a lot of money. And so when it breaks down, what you can control, business and life peeps out there, listen, is not what people do, but how people make you feel. And how their actions make you feel, right? If you're able to be like, listen, it's a shot straight to the gut, right? It's pretty much 2 punches to the gut, but all right, what am I going to do about it, right? Yep. I'll figure it out. I'm going to work it day by day, but there's no reason to sit here and pull my hair out. I might as well have a good time and live in the moment and be with my friends in Santa Monica, and that's it. And then we'll figure it out and then just take the baby steps to try to get the money back or whatever it might be. But those situations happen a lot. When someone cuts you off, you have the option of honking or the option of being like, whatever, right? Like, and just moving on. I think so. Those, again, you have the control of how people make you feel. And that's the one thing I think a lot of people, not a lot of one thing, of course, you have a lot of things I'm sure you can offer people. It's the one thing I think I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs realize pointing the finger, and their feeling behind it is really, really angry.
Exactly. Yeah. And, when I kind of learned this lesson a little bit from playing poker. At one point I was playing poker seriously and looking at becoming a professional poker player.
Nice.
And one thing you learn from playing poker when you start to play a lot and really get into it is that you have to divorce your actions from the results, right? Because you have to just know to take right action, right? You just basically play the mathematical odds, you know the correct strategy, and you execute. And it doesn't mean that you get the results, because you could play a hand perfectly, mathematically right, and lose all your money. It's not your fault. You played it perfectly. But and you can play poorly and you can win. But over time, if you continue to take right actions, you will eventually have a net win. You will eventually come out in the end. And that's just a really good metaphor for life, and especially as an entrepreneur, because it's you're going to take hits. You're going to be doing the right thing, and you can't just adjust your plan because you're taking hits. Then you can't give up because you're taking hits. You got to separate those two things out and say, okay, what is the correct action? What is the correct plan? Not that you don't ever get any feedback, and you obviously integrate that, but you have to really separate the two. In fact, actually, it's kind of funny. There's a really good book on this by Annie Duke, and she was a professional poker player, and she wrote a book called Thinking in Bets. And she talks about this whole idea of, a lot of our actions or a lot of our results are some percentage luck and some percentage skill. And we have to know what that difference is. But as an entrepreneur, it's like such an important lesson, because so many people give up because they take a hit, they take it personally. They think it's all, but man, it's a roller coaster ride. Like you are going to be up, you're going to be down. Something's going to come out and slam you for no reason out of left field, and you're not going to know why, but you just got to keep on taking right action.
That's absolutely right. Tell me a little bit about what you feel or what you're excited about within your business right now, the mindset kind of industry, or if there is one, right? Really, I know it's created one for sure in terms of just the self-help, self-development world. But what are you excited about in terms of your company, Bulldog Mindset? Yeah,
I mean, I'm just excited that really I've had a lot of success with the membership. It's been growing pretty rapidly, up to 360 members now in the monthly membership, and I'm excited to take it to the next level, right? As I get more and more people in there, to be able to reach more people and getting a wider reach, and to maybe do some live events and things like that. It's really the impact that I'm making, and that these guys are making as they're changing their lives. We're seeing such great transformation. So that just excites me, just working with these guys every day and seeing, what really excites me the most, I would say, is just seeing people that come in without that mindset and not understanding what's possible for them. And then all of a sudden that transformation, right? In a relatively short period of time, in a year, someone goes from being overweight and fat and having no idea about online business and just working a regular job, to suddenly having a side business now, going and running a marathon. And it's all because they now understand the mindset, and they have that support, that framework of other guys that it very much depends on who you're around, right? If your inputs determine who you become, and so having those inputs really changes people. So that excites me, just to see that, because I can't imagine. I mean, somehow I was led down this path where I was able to see that and to change my mindset. Otherwise, I would just be oblivious. I would just be living with blinders on. Most people live their lives just living a normal, mediocre, mundane life and never achieve any kind of greatness. And it's sad to me. So.
Well, it sounds, I can, if you're watching this, you can see that John's pretty passionate about this. And I love that you just mentioned, the excitement isn't about the growth of revenues and we're blowing it up, because a lot of business people are going to think that way. You're talking about you're impacting people's lives, and that's why a lot of us. That's why I podcast. Like, sure, revenues will come. Sure, people will start. People sponsor it, right? And coaching clients may or may not come out of it. But when it's all said and done, like, if people are listening to this and getting value out of it, and we can do it on a mass scale, and there's a platform and a medium like podcasting allows me to do so, no brainer, because I know there's an impact. And I think that it's obvious John's all about trying to make sure it's impactful and valuable to you guys. So definitely want to check out bulldogmindset.com. Out of all of your experiences, John, give us one piece of parting advice, and then we'll say goodbye. But what to the entrepreneurs now listening, what would you give them as far as a piece of parting advice?
Actually, you know what? I'll piggyback off of what you just said,
Sure.
kind of what we were talking about, which is, and I'll say, from my story, as far as not chasing the money, not chasing goals is really the big thing, is because goals are the things that are going to put you moving in a direction to improve yourself, to become the person who's capable of achieving those goals. From my story and kind of how I discovered it, I retired, quote retired at about 33. I've been doing real estate investment since I was like 19, and then doing these businesses. I had enough passive income where I was going to retire, and I did. I went to Hawaii and I lived on the beach for 2 months, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. I just, I was like, wow, this is what I've been working all my life for, and I was depressed. It was bad.
Boring. Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, wow, why would I be depressed after accomplishing this great goal? And I started to realize that the goal was not it. That, like, no matter what, it doesn't matter. You make so much money. Okay, now your business is making $10K a month. Now it's $100K a month. You're $1 million business. Doesn't matter. It does not matter. It matters it matters as a goal for you becoming the person that you want to become, right? And that's the whole thing, is like, whatever goal that you have, like, just use that as something to push you in the direction to improve yourself, to become that person, because that's what really matters. That's the thing that brings fulfillment. No amount of achievements, and I had set so many goals in my life, and I've hit so many of them, and every time it was never enough. It never was the thing that made the impact. But that's why that shift on the purpose of impacting people and helping people and the reach, that's something that lights me up every single day, and also just knowing that I'm improving myself along this path as well, and that's the thing that will keep you going, right? Some revenue goal, some target, you think if you had $1 million you'd have a better life. Nope. Money is just a multiplier. Whatever you have now, whatever you feel now, whoever you are now, having more money is just going to multiply that. So if you can't fix yourself now, having money is going to make you more miserable.
Yeah, if you're out there just thinking about the more mentality and thinking that I need more and more and more in terms of cash, then it's going to be unfulfilled, right? What is the fulfillment aspect for you? And I think that's a great point, John, is try to back into what you want, find out what your why is, what your passion is, and the money's going to come, and or if it doesn't, you're still going to be fulfilled and feel great doing whatever you do.
Exactly.
So where can people find you?
So best thing to do is to go to bulldogmindset.com. In fact, if you go there, you'll see a little pop-up for a quiz, and take the quiz there and see what your Bulldog score is. It'll give you a score from 0 to 100, see if you've got the Bulldog mindset. And then from there, you'll be in contact with me. I'll send you some tips and stuff, how to increase the score. And then everything is, you can find it all from there, but that's the place to start.
Well, John, thank you so much for your time and dropping off some of your experiences here with us today.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Liebus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.